day 26 of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're coming through the tail end, and today we're still talking about defense in depth. The last time we talked about things like firewalls, spam filters, web application firewalls, and mainly perimeter defenses. So stuff with the intent of stopping the bad guys from coming in entirely. Today we're going to talk about controls within those walls, right? So if somebody were to get in, if something got phished, if somebody came in through one of those holes that we left and we thought it was good, but they were bad, if an account that we believe to be trusted gets compromised, all those are ways people can get inside those walls. So you still need controls in place to make sure that once they're in, they don't have just carte blanche to all of your data. We refer to those as internal access controls. And in the most simplistic form, we're talking about file permissions. We like to follow something called least privilege. And what least privilege is it means that you're giving people all the access they need to do their jobs, but no access that they don't need to do their job. And often when we have this discussion, especially with businesses, the pushback is like, well, we trust our employees. And that's good. You should trust your employees, because if you don't, you shouldn't have them as employees. But you're acting on the assumption that what they're doing is intentional. And it's really not. People make mistakes all the time. Accidental data corruption and deletion is the leading cause of data loss. So by implementing least privilege, you're preventing people from accidentally deleting a bunch of stuff because they don't know what it is, or from changing data that they're really not supposed to be touching, or if by going in and seeing stuff maybe you don't want them to see, like HR data or payroll data, not because they're intentionally snooping around, but because they stumbled upon it. But you're also stopping bad guys from leveraging very powerful accounts by doing this. So if you're a executive in a small business or a medium-sized business, often you have tons of access to stuff, right? The CEO might have access to all the finance data, all the HR data, all the normal business file share data. And if their account gets compromised because they're a big target, then the attacker now has access to all that same stuff. So what you want to do is limit what people have access to. So in the event they do get phished, or in the event their account gets compromised some other way, the attacker doesn't just have free reign over stuff. So that's the idea behind least privilege. It should extend through application permissions. So what are you allowed to do in the tools you use? What are you allowed to do on file servers and with different folders and file structures? And every other kind of tool we have. We don't want to give everybody administrative rights to everything all the time unless it's absolutely necessary, and it rarely is. And even in cases where you want to set up things like service accounts to run backups, those should be limited to just what they're built for. You shouldn't have a single generic service account doing everything, because they're often unmonitored or they're not used very often. So if something goes wonky, you won't notice. So least privilege is one way. And the other thing you can do is actually look at your network design. When we talked about Wi-Fi in airports and stuff, we talked about the idea of client isolation and VLANs. Same thing kind of goes here. If you have a compliant portion of your network, say a bunch of POS systems, put those off in a separate area, make that the PCI compliant environment. Definitely secure the rest of your environment, but isolate items that need extra security or extra monitoring. Put some segmentation in place between your workstations and your servers, and build with security in mind so you can stop or minimize the flow of traffic between secure and insecure areas. Doing all these things adds a really strong layer of security in your environment, and it also sets up tripwires. So if somebody's trying to traverse that security or break through it, hopefully you get notified via one of your other tools. And we'll talk about host-based alarms and network intrusion detection systems in a couple of other videos coming up. But that's kind of the idea for internal controls. And that's our second layer of defense in our Defense in Depth mini series. All right, well, stay tuned for the next few episodes, and have a great day.